The baby is always sleepy, and I think that's the only way I can actually include him in the blog right now at this this age. So, these overalls I got from one of the girls at work. Super cute. I love them. It says, Mommy's little prince on them, which he is. He's my little chunky monkey. So, anyways, I want to share my breastfeeding journey. So, before I had him, I already knew that I wanted to breastfeed. I'm extremely pro breastfeeding. I did so much research on natural birth and breastfeeding, and I read so many natural birth stories, like labor and delivery stories and breastfeeding stories, and I was so excited. I knew that I was going to have a natural labor and delivery, and that we were going to have skin to skin, and he was just going to breastfeed. He was just going to latch, and it was natural, and that's what I thought too. I thought that it's natural. That's what happens. The baby breastfeeds. That's how they feed. That's how they eat, and it's instinct. And then let me tell you, it's not. and now that I know, and now that I've reached out to other people online, and I've heard a lot of my friends and mothers and experience, I've learned that it's not that way for a lot of people. It's a struggle for a lot of people. It takes practice, and it's a learning process for both the baby and the mom. So my experience, what happened is I ended up with an infection when I started pushing. My fever spiked, and so they thought that he might have an infection as well, so he was actually whisked away to NICU. I did, thanks to my husband advocating for me, get to have a little bit of skin-to-skin time with him. I got to meet him right away, but it was just a few brief moments before he was taken to NICU. And then I got to see him there, and we tried to breastfeed, and it wasn't very successful because they were trying to get an IV in him, and it was actually a really scary experience. The next day when I went to visit him in NICU, he did latch when I was just producing colostrum, and it was wonderful. So I thought, great, he's latching, and this, isn't that big of a deal. Oh, hi, Murphy. Where are you going? This isn't that big of a deal. It's great, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And he latched, and it was great for about 2 days. And then on the third day in the hospital, when my milk came in, hi, monkey. When my milk came in, he stopped latching, and we couldn't get him to feed, and I was freaking out that he wasn't getting the food that he needed. We had tons of lactation consultants come into our room. I joke with my husband that nurses must be dreading coming into our room, like, don't send me into that room, that lady never wears a shirt. I had so many nurses and lactation consultants and pediatricians see my boobs, and handle my boobs for that matter. I had no idea that I would be that comfortable. Not to say that I was comfortable, but when you're trying to feed your baby, you just let it happen, I guess. But, yeah, he wouldn't latch, so we ended up using an SNS tube to get him to feed, because at that point he couldn't come home unless he had regular feedings, and the only way for us to get regular feedings was for him to use the SNS tube. So when we got home, I thought it'll be easier, we'll try it then, we won't have all these people pressuring us to make it happen. And that happens in the hospital a lot too. There's so many nurses, and they all want you to be successful at it, so they're all coming in and grabbing your boob and grabbing your child's head, and it's really like trying to fit a square block into a round hole, and it's just literally constantly them doing that, and he's screaming and I'm crying. It was just such a negative experience, so I said, we'll wait till we get home and we'll try it on our own time. And the more I get to know him, the more that is him. Everything's happening on his time. So when we got home, it still didn't happen for us. It was a nightly battle. Not nightly, it was daily. It was a daily battle to try to get him to latch, to the point where I was crying, he was hysterical, my husband was just, didn't know where to go, didn't know how to support me, and so we started giving him the bottle, and from there, whoa. Well, is that how you feel about it? So from there, I just felt defeated, because everybody tells you once you introduce a bottle, that's the end of it. There's no confusion, they become lazy, they don't want to latch because they can get it so much easier from a bottle nipple. But that really wasn't the case for us, so I'm here to say that don't let that discourage you. If you have to give your baby a bottle, it's not the end of your breastfeeding relationship. Actually, it was what created the success in ours. I actually found an article on kellymom.com that was just like, don't pressure yourself, let it happen, it will happen, it takes practice. And so what I did was I just promised myself that at each feeding we would make the attempt to breastfeed. So I gave it until either I was too frustrated or he was too frustrated, and at that point I would give him the bottle, and I told myself if he ended up just feeding from a bottle, we would be okay with it, but we would continue to make the attempt. And some days it was he latched and he had a good feed, maybe once, and then the next day he wouldn't have anything, and I would just cry. I would be hysterical. I would be disappointed in myself for giving up so easily. I felt guilty for not providing him what I thought was the best nutrition I possibly could. Even though I was giving him breast milk, I felt like I wasn't getting or providing the emotional bond or emotional development that I wanted to, that I had read so many people were able to accomplish with their breastfeeding experience. And you know, you hear about that bond, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to have that bond and that experience that everybody, you know, said was so magical. And I just felt, like I said, I felt guilty for not giving that to him and for not providing it for myself and giving up so easily. So but you know, just the next day, after a whole day of not latching, he latched, and he fed 4 or 5 times on the boob, and then the next day he fed completely on the boob, the breast. He fed completely on the breast. And ever since then he has been, and actually now we're having a hard time getting him to take a bottle, which almost is just as bad. So yeah, we're doing it now, and it was successful. Yep. So I just wanted to share that experience because, you know, I thought going into it that it was going to be easy or that it was natural, and that I had no idea that it was such a process. And I think that a lot of people maybe think that it's going to be easy or that it's just supposed to happen, but it doesn't. So if you are currently breastfeeding and you're having a hard time with it, just know that you're not alone. And a lot of people go through it, and it's completely normal. So just keep at it. Take a step back, take a deep breath, know that you're doing awesome and trying to provide your baby with the best nutrition you possibly can, and keep trying. Reach out to support where you can. You know, your social network, online communities, thebump.com. There's a forum just for breastfeeding. CaliMom.com has a lot of great resources, just educational. There's usually the Leche Leagues in most communities, so maybe Google and see if you can find one in your area. A mom's group, lactation consultants at your hospital. Yeah. So I think that's everything that I can think of for now. I'm sure there will be a lot more breastfeeding posts, including what my breastfeeding relationship becomes when I go back to work, and what pumping looks like at work. Not what it looks like, but what it is. What that experience turns into. Say hi, monkey! Say hi in your cute overalls. You sleepy monkey. So yeah, if you have any questions about what my experience was, feel free to ask. I'm very open about my breastfeeding experience or my breastfeeding relationship or what I'm doing to make breastfeeding work for us. Shut up, Mom. You're being so loud. I'm just trying to get my nap on. So, we want to know, was breastfeeding easy for you? Did it come naturally? Was it a struggle? Did you decide not to breastfeed because it wasn't what worked best for your family? Share your experiences with us. Let us know how it went for you. And that is all.